Honored to be here on this platform today and be talking to all of you. As you're aware, India is on its path to becoming one of the largest economies worldwide, and themes like digital and telecom transformation are the themes which are helping on that cause. Now, when we talk about digital or telecom transformation across the entire economy, we can't talk about only one part of it and not talk about the other. Some of the elements which need a lot of focus often don't get that much attention. Today, here with us, we will be focusing on the future of devices, which are a very important element in this entire transformation. We will have today a mix of industry stalwarts who have seen and driven this transformation very closely in their respective organizations. We will be happy to have their point of views on how the country can ride this wave and be successful. So with that, I would like to invite our eminent panelists onto this conversation. First of all, let me invite Lieutenant General Kocher, who is the Director General of COAI, to join this discussion.
Thank you, Sushant.
Thank you.
It is indeed. Okay. Yeah. So it is indeed a pleasure to be on this panel and to share my views with you. I am currently the DG of COI. Before that, I was the Signal Officer in Chief of the Indian Army, and intermittently, I was the Chief Executive of Telecom Sector Skill Council. With that background, what I feel is that for 5G to roll out, there are really speaking 5 components which are essential. So first, of course, is the use case, and then are the networks. In the networks will also come the spectrum, and then, of course, the devices. And the most important always is financials. So these form a concoction, and in the times that are emerging, which is really an exciting time, I must say, because a lot of things are coming up along with 5G. IoT is coming up, AI, AR, VR, Industry 4.0 is coming up, and 5G will give the first module where machines will talk to machines, machines will talk to humans.
Okay.
This is really exciting, and I'm sure that the panel will touch upon all these aspects. Thank you.
Absolutely. Lieutenant General Kocher, we would look forward to hearing more of these thoughts during the panel discussion today. And let me invite our next panelist, Mr. Anku Jain, who is the Managing Director for MediaTek, onto this panel today. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. And it's a great panel discussion today. You know, we have a topic like future devices, redefining devices for the future. I think that's a very apt topic. My name is Anku Jain, and I'm the Managing Director for MediaTek in India. And I'm representing 4th largest fabless company in the world. So I think it's really great to be in this panel. We'll talk about future devices, about 5G, AI, and so on. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Then let's invite Mr. Madhav Sheth. He's the CEO of Realme India and EU onto this panel today.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for hosting me on this platform. I think this is my second time, but the first time virtual opening on this platform. And I'm very thankful to MediaTek and IMC for hosting me on this particular platform and knowing my views to the viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sheth. And finally, let me request Mr. Sunil Dutt, President Devices, Reliance Jio, to join the conversation today.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sushant, and the co-panelists. Very nice to be back talking to a number of you again. And very happy to be here in this panel discussion. Technology transformation is the only constant that we've been seeing. And if anything, you know, during this last 9 months or so, the speed has actually increased for technology transformation and the impact of technology on people. So given that reality today and the fact that 5G is already emerging, And devices, of course, being in the consumer domain, always, have more excitement built around them because it impacts the masses, it impacts a lot of people. So happy to be associated with this topic. I work for Reliance Jio Infocom Limited as president for devices and mobility. And prior to that, I have worked for several organizations in the devices space, namely BlackBerry. Before that, with Hewlett Packard. Prior to that, with Samsung, and before that, with Nokia, to name a few. So happy to be here and happy to be listening to the co-panelist as well as the host. So thank you for hosting me.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Itan. I'll give a quick intro about myself as well. My name is Sushant Rabra. I'm a partner with KPMG, where I lead digital transformation. And this is a topic which is something I'm really passionate about. Devices is where digital becomes real. This is the last leg, or I would say the first leg, the way you want to say it, where actually consumers, customers actually deliver value from digital transformation. And to that extent, whatever happens here impacts the way digital transformation gets accepted across organizations. Now, I'll start the discussion by first requesting thoughts from Mr. Ankur Jain and his opening remarks about what does he see as the key trends in this space and what are the themes to watch out for.
Yeah, so I think we are going through a very exciting time. We already heard, in fact, even during this pandemic, we have seen so much adoption of digital devices and so on, and that's what has turned out to be a savior for us. Going forward, I think we are looking at many trends. One is, of course, artificial intelligence itself, which I mentioned earlier. So AI is one of the biggest tech trends currently, and by next year, it will become even more valuable and useful tool for helping industries and education segments to interpret and understand the smart working culture. Because we see more and more working from home and study from home and so on. The second trend I see is about robotics, drones, and vehicle automation. For the past few years, we witnessed emergence of robots, drones, and self-driven vehicles, which have been assisting smart living. I feel these technologies will work as a primary source in tandem with 5G in the coming years and will support the economy to upgrade the lifestyle with the evolutionary futuristic devices. And finally, I think a lot of us have talked about this topic about 5G itself. I think 5G will be a big trend with enhanced connectivity. So, telecommunications have really evolved with the passing of time over the last several decades. For example, 3G made web browsing and data-driven devices useful on mobile phones. And then 4G enabled the growth of streaming video and music platforms with the increase in bandwidths. Finally, I feel next year, 2021, we expect to see 5G to open doors for smarter and faster connected devices. So this year will be really focusing on multitasking and faster working ability. So we're really looking at a lot of exciting time ahead. Very excited about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jain. I'm sure many of us on this panel actually echo your views. We are quite excited about the opportunity 5G revolution brings for India. And with that, let me request Mr. Seth for his opening remarks on the subject.
I think Madhav is mute.
We can't hear you.
All right. I think now I hope I'm audible now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What we look as a 5G is not just as a smartphone, but we look as a host of connected devices. As even what Mr. Ankur said, that basically it will open up a lot of opportunities for innovations. And what I believe that basically 5G is not just for the smartphones or the hardware, but it also will connect the entire home or entire ecosystem around you and make everything smarter. Because the way the connectivity and the speed is there, though there are no use case scenarios right now, but as far as what we see, we believe that it will transform the entire day-to-day living of a human being. As I always say that innovation has to be novel and useful. I think it will be definitely more useful. And I still remember when it was transforming from 3G to 4G, people used to say that 3G is also self-sufficient. Why do we need 4G? But now we see that people are not able to live without the 4G, and that's what is going to, I think, is going to happen with 5G as well. 5G will transform the entire industry, because it's not just for the smartphones as we think as that hardware, but it will connect the entire ecosystem around you. And host of AIoT products will be launched to ensure that basically our day-to-day lifestyles are much more convenient for the use case scenarios.
Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. If we were just looking at current and incrementally improving it, we wouldn't be here even.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I completely agree with you. Now, taking this theme forward, if we would like to have a view on the future and request thoughts from Mr. Dutt, particularly from a device perspective, how do you see the future panning out and the themes which you think are important?
Yeah, well, I think it's as both the co-panelists have mentioned. One, it's exciting times ahead because of the new technology. And new technologies will always create exciting times ahead. However, I think what we need to also keep in mind, and we need to keep constantly focused on, is on what the technology as well as the devices are going to do for the country. We are still a large part of the country where we still are unconnected. We are still not connected to the mobile broadband in terms of consumers getting connected onto it, because there is, if you notice, there's still about 350 million or 400 million devices which are still on 2G. So technology, and I would dare say 5G in its capability would actually create a significant impact on the population in that part of the country. So important will be what is it that those devices are going to do for those people? What is it that the technology is going to do for those people? How is it that we are going to reach the benefits of this technology to large parts of this country, which is one, unconnected, and second, the part which is connected, how do we ensure that there is a better value proposition for them and there is an actual transformation of lives or impact on several sectors? I think that's something that we'll all need to look forward to.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that out. And it's not just about the use cases and the customer which are already connected. It's also about the million others which are still waiting to ride that wave. So to that extent, it will be very, very important for us to think about. Coming to our next panelist, let me go to Lieutenant General Kocher and request his thoughts on how does he see these themes playing out at an overall level.
Yes, so Sushant, for 5G to roll out, we must understand that 5G is not an upgrade. It is a new technology, and hence, when the networks roll out, when the devices come in, this is going to be riding on new technology, and hence there has to be a huge amount of capital infusion to roll this out. And paradoxically, if you see, there are no use cases which give us a quick ROI, which are in sight. Therefore, when the industry is investing in this, especially for networks, they are investing on a distant future and not in the next quarter. Hence, the planning is also going to be different. This is going to be a collaborative planning in telcos where commercial people, marketing people, technical people have to sit together and see what flavor of 5G is to be rolled out and when. Now, India being a vast country, I see multiple flavors of 5G being rolled out. It will be disparate. And initially, I feel that in India, we will have a non-standalone 5G rolling out. It will ride on 4G. Only in highly industrialized areas and dense urban areas will we possibly get where the requirement will be high capacity and maybe less reach. We will have small cell type of a 5G, the typical 5G. But in rural areas where most of our population resides, we will have to then see what is the use case. We will require more reach, maybe lesser capacity. Compare it with 4G and see whether 4G delivers what it has to, or do we require an immediate upgrade or installation of 5G, non-standalone 5G. So it is going to be a mixed bag. And in this mixed bag, since the telcos are taking a risk of rolling out investment net for networks, and they're already bleeding, it is an earnest request to the government to look at this the segment now as a vertical, as a horizontal, not as a vertical. They must see and recognize that telecom is not an essential service. COVID has proven that. And in addition to being an essential service, it is also foundational. With other sectors growing on telecom, the type of revenue that government can get from the sectors riding on telecom will be multiple times of what they can get from the telecom as a vertical. So this is something that we are in touch with the government with, and we are asking them to look at levies, taxes, fees, etc. in that light, and to speed up and hasten up the spread of the networks as well as the devices. Devices will not only be the consumer devices that we know of, they'll also be network devices, which will perforce have to become smart themselves. A lot of new concepts will have to come in, and we'll have to train manpower also to see that these type of devices and networks roll out. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And I think I agree with whatever we have heard so far. There is a great potential for 5G and associated devices to lift the game in India. There are, of course, certain themes that need to be discussed, and hopefully we will cover that as part of the panel today. But from an opportunity landscape perspective, I think all the panelists are aligned that there's a fair degree of opportunity on the table. What we need to figure out is possibly our way of getting there. And to take that theme forward, I'll start with the query to Mr. Jain. Now, when we talk about devices, we talk about 5G or smart devices ecosystem. This entire ecosystem is something that grows over time, and there's high degree of interdependency, right? So, for example, you have the chipset manufacturers, fabricators, solution providers, integrators, and so on and so forth. How do you see that ecosystem evolving, and particularly chipset side of things, if you would like to deep dive into? How do you see that ecosystem evolving, specifically from a country like India perspective?
Yeah, I think as you said, we have many different ecosystem players, who have to do their part in order to make this a reality. And I just like to add a few points over and above what the other panelists mentioned. I think 5G is I feel very strongly that it's going to be a competitive advantage for a country like India, because if you see that when we had 4G in place, we were thinking, what will the 4G do? But then that unleashed innovations like Uber and Swiggy and so on. I think those applications just cannot work on 3G, and those were they evolved only when 4G came into force. Similarly, when 5G comes into fore, we will have a lot of innovation which will be unleashed in India. So, it's really a very strategic advantage that we are looking at. And therefore, all these ecosystem partners which you mentioned, they need to collaborate and come together and make it a reality. Now, from chipset point of view, MediaTek is essentially a research company. We have R&D that we are doing for the last so many decades. It's having a 5G solution, a chipset solution, is not a trivial matter. It does need a lot of R&D for so many of engineers, and who are doing that to ensure the solution works well with the different telecom players, with the different equipment vendors, and different networks and different devices. So we have to ensure all those things work smoothly and well. And luckily, we have all the R&D we have done in the last couple of years. We have been able to bring out our MediaTek Dimensity series of chips, which are 5G enabled. In fact, recently we announced MediaTek 1000 Plus, Dimensity 1000 Plus chip in India. So, which is just a powerhouse of technology. And just today we announced MediaTek 800U. So our focus would be to ensure that we are able to cater to all kind of spectrum of users, from the mainstream to the flagship. I think we would like to really democratize 5G technology in all kinds of users, because we would like all the users to have the benefits of 5G. So from chipset point of view, I think we are doing whatever we can to ensure that we are able to bring this great technology, innovative technology to the masses.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that the view around ecosystem and getting it all together is absolutely fair for a country like India. And we look forward to some of the themes that you mentioned in terms of upcoming launches. And to the next question to Mr. Seth. India exists in many eras together. So there are some parts of India which are very happy with 2G. There are some parts of India which are very happy with 3G and 4G and so on. Then, from a large organization perspective, which is looking at fulfilling demand across spectrum, what's your strategy? What's your 5G play?
I'd like to start with where Ankulo ended. I think we are on a path to democratize 5G not only in India but globally, and I think that's where also MediaTek plays a quite essential role along with us. We being a hardware provider, I think our job is to make sure that basically we are able to bring 5G devices to the maximum number of people at a price which does not only pinches their pocket but also is the technology without compromising any other aspects of the technology of the devices. So that's what the ambition of Realme with 5G is all about. We'll be among the first ones, like what Ankur said, that they have launched about 800 and 1000 series. But I think we'll be among the first ones to launch Realme X7 and X7 Pro in India with Dimensity 800 and Dimensity 1000 chipsets. So I think this is for the first time, and I think I've been mentioning this on any of the platform. But when it was spoken about Dimensity 800 and Dimensity 1000, I think it's not just about the chipset with the 5G technology, but it has got many advanced features which also helps camera tuning, also helps battery efficiency. At the same time, the Antutu benchmark scores are super efficient. So coming back to your point of democratizing 5G and other aspects in India, we will ensure to bring more and more hardware and democratize 5G as much as we can at a most affordable pricing to without compromising on any of the hardware specs, even at the even if you're trying to compare with any of the 4G devices. I think that's what Realme will be ambition in India as of now.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that perspective. So while we spoke about, of course, the devices side and chip side, like to request a perspective from Mr. Dutt from Reliance Jio. The companies and people, they are continuing to work remotely and working out on 4G, 5G devices. And there's a lot of demand now, the way we see it from 5G perspective. How are you preparing to meet this demand? And what are the key themes that you see which will play out over the next, let's say, 18 to 24 months in that regard?
Well, let me say, a couple of things here, Sushant. One, in terms of how we are prepared, I think from the 5G perspective, from the technology perspective, I think if there's any one digital company which is prepared, I think it's we who are prepared for 5G. Number two, I think, you rightly pointed out, during this last 9 months when the whole focus about working from home went up and, even businesses going online for a lot of time and even people's access to information, education, a lot of healthcare, all of that going online. It becomes important for people to be able to access all of that in the real possible time and in the real possible manner. Therefore, it becomes extremely important for the digital service providers to be able to bring the technology and the benefits to the customers. I really like the comments which Madhav made and which Ankur made that about democratizing the benefits of devices as well as of technology and through chipsets or through other hardware means for the people, and glad to see that people are already working on that aspect. Wherever I think the last mile is needed on that, I think I'm sure we as an organization, I'm not just talking about Jio, but Reliance as an organization will step in as we have done in the past as well, even with 4G, where the benefits of connectivity were made far more affordable through our Jio phones for so far more than 100 million people who could not access technology because of the hardware prices. So we actually made it so much more affordable for them. Even on the other 4G devices, and we are working with Realme and with the other organizations to try and make devices more and more affordable for people. So having said that, for 4G, and already I think 3G is a past, and it's dead so far as I think we are concerned. Now the whole focus also has to be on how do you transform the 2G into 4G and 5G. So I think moving in that direction, I think we are completely prepared to be able to, one, take on the challenge, two, be able to provide the best of the services. And as and when we roll out, as and when devices become more available, more affordable, it's we are going to be there in supporting the customers, be it for any sorts of requirement, not just for a mobile handheld, but also for the other devices, for connected homes, connected enterprise, connected education, etc. Everything. So I think we are all ready. We are all set for it.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that and widening the conversation. It's not only about the mobile handset, it's also about the connected devices. And particularly when you talk about 5G, those devices would probably have a fair degree of play. So with that, I think if we have heard a view from, of course, technology, we have heard view from devices, we have heard view from large telcos perspective. Now coming to Captain General Kocher, sir, if you were to take your thoughts in terms of the 5G readiness of the country, right? From a chip makers, they are saying we are ready. OEMs are saying we are ready to go. And there's a lot of opportunity sitting from a use case perspective. So when all of these systems are go, if you were to look at the overall readiness, where do we stand? If you were to take your perspective on that.
I think General Kocher is on mute.
Yes, we can't hear you.
Sorry, no.
Yeah.
So these, I said, these are use cases in being. We anticipate that these use cases will happen provided the ecosystem plays up. And in the ecosystem, like I told you, there are 5 different aspects which have to come into play simultaneously. Most important of them is the enabling ecosystem of finance. Now, finance is something that has to be done jointly with government and the industry. I'm not asking for government participation in finance. I'm only saying that they should facilitate rollout of network, rollout of device manufacturing. The background is there, the environment is there, today's security environment, and the way we function helps us to deep dive into Atmanirbhar story. The reason I'm saying this is that we are working on standards. Telecom industry totally works on international interoperable standards, and we hope we will continue working on it. That gives us the advantage of scale, and therefore the costs go down for normal user and for rolling out networks as well as devices. But that is uniform to everybody. What differentiates one manufacturer from another manufacturer, and hence the rollout of networks and devices, is the cost of manufacture. And that cost of manufacture depends very largely on the cost of technicians, cost of labor in that particular country of manufacture. Now, if you see, the current environment will help us in transmigrating manufacturing facilities of acceptable industry players into India, so that the advantage of low-cost labor from India accrues to them. Their manufacturing facility is going to be the same standard base. So if they shift to India, they get all the advantages in other segments. So I see that a shift happening in this manner, and I see that the government is going to facilitate this sort of shifts. The second part which I would like to emphasize is that networks are an essential part. And the government must look at what I've already said in my previous question. They must look at facilitating the telcos, must look at facilitating equipment manufacturers who are taking the risk of investing huge amounts for future of 5G, for anticipated use cases. But in the interim, till the time these use cases come up to maturity and they give a ROI the way industry wants it, it will be very difficult for industry to to invest so much of capital in networks and in device manufacturing units unless there is hand-holding from the government. And therefore, the government has to look at these aspects very, very carefully and very, very minutely. Another aspect they have to look at is making spectrum available. Today, decisions have not yet been taken. We do not have contiguous spectrum. We do not yet have trial runs being done, pilots being done. So these are aspects which will make 5G rollout commercially, but these are pre-steps, and I hope cognizance is taken of this so that the rollout of 5G is as anticipated, and it is done in a manner that it becomes good for the country and good for the consumer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. And I think many of the themes that you mentioned in terms of our readiness from multiple sides, which needs to come in together for this entire revolution to happen, I think that's fairly widely acknowledged. And thanks for sharing that perspective with us. Now, doing a bit of a crystal ball gazing, let me go to Mr. Jain. You are closest to the innovation which is happening from a devices perspective. We have seen feature phones move to smartphones. We have seen touchscreen to gestures, and so on and so forth. What's next? What's the next big thing in devices?
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good question. In the world of innovation, we always look for the next big thing. And currently, first, let me talk about the Dimensity itself. We have that because we are very, very bullish about Dimensity series of chips. And in Dimensity series, we are working on two different vectors. One is about the feature set. For example, we have the connectivity is great, the multimedia features, the AI, the mobile gaming, and the imaging innovations. I think all these great features are part of the 5G Dimensity series of chips. That's one factor we're working on to give the best features to the end user. And second vector is that we like to make these technologies available to the entire spectrum of users. So we have entire series of chips from Dimensity, like I mentioned earlier. So we like to work on both the vectors. And going forward, I think what we look forward to is the adoption of these technologies. Right now, we already saw a lot of adoption in other countries. For example, the MediaTek Dimensity series have done extremely well in China so far, and also many other geographies. So I'm really looking forward to adoption of these chips and this 5G technology itself in India, because I'm sure it's going to be a game changer for us.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. We look forward to the product launches that you mentioned. I'm sure there'll be very many innovative features over there. Just moving forward on the same theme, and maybe requesting thoughts from Madhav here. See, we have been hearing about abstraction. We have been hearing about device systems and apps and other solutions determining the user experience. But the reality is there is a chip in the end, which is making all of that happen. So how important is the chip to the smart device? What's your perspective?
I think chipset is one of the most integral part of any of the smart devices. And I think it's one of the most important and it holds the key functions as of now. I think from the day we have seen P60 when we launched with MediaTek till now to Dimensity 1000, chipset has evolved tremendously and has become one of the most important aspects in the smartphones or any of the smart devices. It may be smart TV, smart home, smart lifestyle, smart travel, anything. Chipset becomes one of the most integral part, and I think MediaTek has played one of the most versatile role in offering one of the chipsets for a lot of consumer needs. But I would say yes, I think chipset is one of the most integral part of any of the smart devices. With Realme, I think it has not only helped us to improve the user efficiency, but it will also help us in improving the camera performance in terms of user experience. Also helped us in terms of battery efficiency, as I said before, managed power consumption, multiple aspects. In terms of, if I would have to say in audio, we are right now doing a lot of audio variable categories also, wherein chipset becomes one of the integral parts because it also helps you to improve audio quality, Bluetooth connectivity, even the touch controls. I think chipset has become one of the center of all the smart devices and is one of the most important parts right now.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. I mean, pretty much it's like the heart of the device. Unless you have the right technology sitting inside, you won't be able to give the right experience outside. So to that point, completely aligned on what you just mentioned. I would like to take thoughts from Mr. Dutt now. So while we spoke about devices, we spoke about the policy, we spoke about innovation. So all of these ingredients are right. But in the last few years, the telecom sector overall in India has gone through a little bit of ups and downs. But with the current crisis, it also became quite clear that you need to have a robust telecom infrastructure in a sector which is vital for the economy. And that's the reason we are all right now here on this platform, interacting our thoughts with each other. So my question to Mr. Dutt is, from where we are today, especially in context of COVID, how do you see the sector panning out over the next 2 to 3 years?
So see, I think one thing is clear, and whether it's pre-COVID or during COVID or post-COVID, I would say the way we see it, before COVID and after COVID kind of a scenario. I think telecom as a sector has been of tremendous importance in any case for the country, and one of the key reasons for that is that this is the backbone which provides not just connectivity on mobility, but also provides the backbone for uh, you know growth of every possible sector that you can imagine. Uh, so it's telecom as a sector, I think, continues to have supreme importance. And insofar as the governments are concerned, I think from the past till the present, and I'm sure moving into the future, governments are going to be extremely supportive of this sector, and we are going to constantly see the telecom sector evolving. Uh, we saw it, from the time from 1996 onwards, uh, when the sector came into being in the country, to the present situation wherein we've seen a whole amount of evolution which has taken place. So as I see it, the importance of this sector, not just for connectivity or just for being able to access information, but I think from the point of view of importance uh, in medical science, in healthcare, in agriculture, in education, in enterprise, everywhere across. I think this is going to be a sector which is going to be critical for the country. And as I see it, this sector is going to pan out, impacting uh, practically every aspect of our connected life that you can think of. So I think this is how I see it over the next 12 to 24 months, along with, of course, all the new technologies uh, which are getting enabled every day. Uh, it's going to be exciting times ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have seen the kind of returns it generated, not for the sector only, but I would say the second order and third order impact it created for the wider economy. And I'm very sure that we will see the same in the next upcycle for the telecom sector as well. Uh, and now coming to the thoughts around the overall economy and the impact of the sector, may I request thoughts from Lieutenant General Kocher? Uh, when we speak about 5G, there are a lot of sectors which are set to benefit from there. So, for example, some of the recent reports they spoke about 5G benefiting manufacturing by to the tune of almost 20% of total benefit, followed by retail, ICT, and so on. Now, there's a fair degree of value sitting on the table. However, uh, there are certain roadblocks that we have to achieve that, right? And some of them are more structural, some of that might be more from their readiness, some of that might be even from a talent perspective. So if I was to take your perspective on that, what are those top 3 or 4 themes which we need to address as a country so that these value that is in front of us can be realized in a, I would say, accelerated manner? Otherwise, we will sort of just follow the wave the way it comes to us.
That's a very important question, Sean. Importantly, we must see that for the rollout of 5G, it is not only putting the towers at a particular place and then connecting the dots. And like I said earlier, it is more of machine-to-machine communication, which generates a huge amount of data at very high speed, very low latency. So that has to be carried backwards for the entire network to work seamlessly. And one of the requirements there is fiberization. So at the back end, we have to have fiberization. Now that fiberization, unfortunately, is not happening at the speed at which we would want it to happen. Government of India has rolled out guidelines which gives right-of-way rules, which gives a lot of things on the right-of-way. Unfortunately, the municipalities and the state governments are not following all the guidelines given by the central government. The result is, and this is one example, and there are many such examples, the result is that telcos cannot plan as to what is their capital outlay for rolling out any particular geography, because they don't know. When they go to a particular taluk or they go to a particular district, they are charged up to 10 lakhs a kilometer for ROW, where the government of India says 10,000. At another place, they charge 10,000. So these dichotomies have to be removed. The government of India is trying very hard to remove it, and I hope they get removed fast. The second thing is availability of spectrum. The spectrum is something that has to be made available, and it has to be made available differentially. In urban areas, industrialized areas, Industry 4.0 coming out somewhere, we require spectrum with very high capacity and very low latency. So hence, we have to be in the mid-band, 2.3, 2.6, or high bands, and maybe into E and D. Whereas in rural areas where the reach is more important than the capacity, there we require to have spectrum in the lower ranges. This is a policy that the government of India has to take decisions on very fast. It's not that they haven't started. They have already made a group of secretaries looking into this. They are wanting to give contiguous spectrum to telcos in the 3.3 to 3.6 gigahertz range. Also, we heard from the member T in one open forum that trials of 5G will start by early 2021. So that's a good sign. This is a technical enablement. The second thing is, of course, which I've mentioned in the entire webinar, that government has to enable us financially. And in that, in addition to what I have mentioned earlier, I won't repeat that, the government may look at redefining AGR in line with what the TRAI has recommended. Not that the court ruling is behind us, it has been obeyed. Going further, prospectively, we must have a practical definition of AGR so that telcos don't get inhibited by this scope. And then they have to take various measures, like laying down a floor price so that operations don't become a loss-making operation for telcos. Essentially, telcos have to be empowered financially as well as from the regulatory field as well as policy. And once the telcos roll out networks, simultaneously the smart devices will come in. The industry will live up to the expectations made of it. And a sound and robust 5G network will roll. But everything has to be put together and looked at differently, quite differently. What Mr. Zamindar just said, that it is a different ballgame, and hence it has to be looked at with fresh eyes.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you summarized it very well, that we need to look at the spectrum, we need to look at the policy, as well as the entire ecosystem build out, which is absolutely essential for this to eventually take place. Now, we took your perspective on some specific questions. We would like to now have the next couple of questions more in open format. So we'll raise the question and feel free to jump in and share your perspectives on that. Now, the first theme that we wanted to sort of take your perspective on is that we are also witnessing these engagement models where user engagement moves pretty seamlessly across devices. In fact, it's constructed by multiple devices. So, for example, Alexa, right? So you might have something on your smartphone, you might have a smart speaker somewhere, you might have a smart fridge, and so on and so forth. So the entire experience is moving across devices and not just rooted onto a device. So in such a scenario, how does the entire ecosystem build out happen? You all have been leading devices business for a long period of time. Would like to understand your perspective on the ecosystem build out.
Okay, so maybe I can give my comments first on that. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, and I would like to maybe also link it with the pandemic we have gone through in the last 9 months. I think the way we are talking right now, it seems very normal. But when we started in this pandemic, having a video conference or webinar like this was a bit strange. So I think this whole pandemic situation has really changed the user behavior, and I think this is going to get entrenched in the way we do work. So the question which you asked about user interaction and the modes of interaction, we have seen that at home we are using smart TVs, we are using mobile phone, tablets, and etc. And I think every each of them have very much integrated with each other, right? So you can do some work on a mobile phone, and then wherever you left off, you can probably do something on a smart TV, right? So they are very integrated, and technologies like Alexa and voice interface has made it even easier for users to interact with the devices. So this pandemic has really acted like a great catalyst to expedite the adoption of digital devices and make it a digital revolution even faster. So yeah, absolutely. I think this behavior change is going to be staying for a long time, I think.
Maybe I can add some few comments to what Mr. Ankur said. I think on a lighter note, I would like to say that initially there's a new normal. We used to tell kids not to use mobiles. Now we are telling them to use mobiles, for education purpose. So edtech and fintech has become one of the most integral part of the today's technology, and it has increased the usage of digital media more and more in this today's time. I think we have added more consumers in form of young education people and young edtech people or fintech people. But I think this technology or this post-pandemic, the entire new normal situation has been changed and has been led to a new revolution of digitalization with a lot of young consumers and a lot of people adopting these new technologies and host of ART products being used to accommodate their day-to-day life. I think that's what I feel. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
Shant,
Dutt, you wanted to
we
say
are seeing
something?
a new phenomena actually. While the rural
Yeah,
population was adopting the technology very well even pre-pandemic, but in the pandemic we are seeing that the rural population has come up of age. They are the ones who are adopting technology, and they are the ones who are using it innovatively to do for the daily lives. So this is something which is a new phenomenon. It had never happened earlier.
Yeah, I think from I feel connectivity should also be made almost like a fundamental right, because it empowers the people so much that as Mr. Lieutenant Kocher said, that if the rural people are also empowered with connectivity, that really is a big game changer. Yeah, so it's really important.
yeah, I think I'm also, Sushant, I think we need to look not just at the COVID or pre-COVID period. I think we need to look beyond that and not just talk about what technology or devices will do only for the COVID period. Yes, it's impacted fintech, it's impacted education, it's impacted several other sectors. But moving ahead, and as as Anku said, we have so many connected devices now at home. Smart TVs and other smart devices connected to whether your mobile phones, your Alexa, as you mentioned, your tablets. But moving forward, and we need to look at some of the countries outside. I mean, you have cars which are connected, and you have your devices which are connected to your cars, and you can actually summon your car to come to your doorstep and move out, etc., do the smart parking. So those are some of the other consumer cases which one can think about. But if you have to look at it, I think there's a large, again, I'll speak about, I think the medical field, which is waiting for a whole lot of connected devices and smart devices. So that's one part of it. I also know, because I've been discussing, I've been having a few chats with somebody who's working in the sector of animals and cattle, and cattle breeding, milk farming, etc., and they are doing a whole lot of work in this space, and they are talking about smart devices. They're talking about devices that will be connecting the databases, transmitting data to centralized databases for better healthcare for animals, as well as so it cuts across spectrum. The devices cut across spectrum, because if the technology is going to impact each and every sector that we can possibly think of, there would be devices which will obviously take care of the requirements of that sector and of the technology which is going to be needed for that. So I see it as a very broad spectrum coming up.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing out the use cases as well, and see how the engagement moves across devices and the entire ecosystem will build out. And from the use cases, especially to what Madhav mentioned, the use cases are now very different. And whatever he was talking about, kids learning, I could pretty much relate to that as well. So it's completely gone 360 degrees, 180 degrees, depending on how you see it. And therefore, the new use cases are evolving and which will gain traction. As maybe a last question from my side, and I would like to ask that in a rapid fire format. So if you had $10 million to invest in devices or ecosystem innovation and your own money, right? Where would you put that investment? For obvious reasons, please exclude your current organizations. I know they're all doing very good work and innovations, but if you had to put in that $10 million in the next upcoming innovation, where would you put that money? Let me start with Mr. Jain.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Going the way, seeing the way stock market is behaving, I think I may just put that in the stock market. But yeah, I think looking at the future innovations, I feel EdTech is a great field of interest. I think it is. We have seen, that's something where connectivity is required, and I think we are seeing a lot of adoption of EdTech. And we have seen that EdTech is being adopted in not only tier 1 and tier 2 cities, but also remote areas in India. So that really, again, empowers those students who didn't have access to the education earlier, and they are able to make a lot of progress in getting educated. So I feel that would be a great investment even from ROI point of view, because it will create a lot of subscribers and probably a lot of business cases to do that in doing that.
Sure. Madhav?
Definitely, if $10 million is definitely less, I need to raise more capital. But then I would definitely invest in ecosystem which is more like smart homes. I think smart homes is going to be the next future in the innovation tech side, as I believe, because we've been seeing the Western countries in Europe, in US. Now, after the smart devices, smart audio, smart wearables, smart home is something where is going to be the new, I think, new binge into the technology. And I think that's where I think I would like to definitely invest into it.
Thank you. Mr. Dutt, your perspective on that?
Yeah, well, I would put it in EdTech and FinTech. I mean, that I would, again, 10 million would be too less for it, but yes, I would put it there. I think in terms of both coexisting and both co-impacting, it would create an impact on the other sectors as well. So I would put it there.
Thank you. Lieutenant General Kochhar, your thoughts, please?
Yeah. So firstly, the $10 million, I don't know what is $10 million, but I agree with Anku. What is happening is that while 5G will reach rural areas, the devices which are in the hands of the children there are not smart devices, and they can't afford today's smart devices. That is one area where there is investment required, not only in rural, even in urban areas, in the lower class and the lower middle class. They at best have one smartphone per family, and they don't know who is going to use it. So education is becoming a problem. Online education is becoming a problem, and the need of the hour is to have a affordable smartphone or a affordable tablet, which doubles up as a smartphone as well as a learning aid.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope after listening to all the comments from the panelists, I hope we had more investors like you in the country. Maybe half of our challenging issues will get sorted out. No, I think that while the number is not important, what we wanted to capture is your thought process, and I think you're bang on. When we talk about connectivity and devices, the biggest impact is happening in edtech, reaching out to those who don't have access to education, health tech, fintech, and that's where the large amount of transformation is happening. And to that extent, that's absolutely bang on. I almost realized that we run out of time. When you are having a good conversation, you don't look at the clock, right? So let me thank all of you for joining us today and summarize my key takeaways. It was a wonderful session. It's not every day that you get to talk to the leaders of leading organizations in a particular sector. We have from the OEM to the devices manufacturer to leading telco, and also a perspective from the industry forum. So it was very nice to hear perspective coming in from all dimensions and bringing it all together. What we discussed is, of course, there's a huge amount of opportunity out there in terms of 5G for the country. And that's something that we all need to definitely focus upon. So it's up to us how to go about that. Second theme that we heard is that there are many enablers that we will need to get there, and to Lieutenant General Kochari very clearly laid out the enablers which we need to get right to be able to accelerate those. Then we heard about the importance of device. While yes, engagement or experience might happen, but end of day, all of that boils down to the device and what you have, for example, powering that device. To that extent, the innovation in chipset, innovation in hardware and manufacturing, it will not going to go away. That actually would be the cornerstone of successful adoption of 5G in the country. Anshu and Madhav, they also spoke about some of the innovation they are seeing, which are coming up over the next couple of years in terms of the core devices per se. And when we spoke about saying, yeah, devices are ready, but are our telcos ready? I heard a resounding yes from Mr. Dutt saying we are ready. Let's get the right enabling environment there. And the telecom sector in the country is resurging. We will see another big wave which is going to come, and we are all very, very optimistic about, and I would say very, very positive about how we will see telecom sector maybe 2 to 3 years down the line from here. And lastly, we also heard your personal perspective on things, where we said, where would you invest? And I think your personal passions came out saying, while we all speak for devices, let me go and make a change to those underprivileged people, children who don't have access to education. Let me put devices there, or for managing healthcare, or for managing financial inclusion and access. And I think that clearly showed the view that you carry, which is close to your heart. So that was also very nice to hear. I think it was a wonderful discussion today. All of you shared your perspectives and insights very openly and transparently. And I would really like to thank all of you for sharing all this today and spending time with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Sriram.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Very much.
Bye.
Thank you.